Well, good morning, and every day we rise, it's a great day to be alive, and welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with Thomas the Colonel Chapman, and our other co-host, Leah Drake Stitt, might be on. She wasn't feeling, I think she got a little bit of that flu bug or cold, but she might come in. But we wish her, I told her, safety first, I mean, health first, and take her time and get well. But we're also expecting a guest host, Wesley Van, but hopefully he'll come in, not like last week at the end of the show. He'll come in before we get finished here. But anyway, good morning to you all. Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
And a runaway Super Bowl yesterday.
Yes.
And and I told you earlier, I fell asleep. It wasn't because of the Super Bowl. I was just sleepy, but I guess it turned out okay. I didn't miss a whole lot, at least in the first half. But what a dominant play by the Philadelphia Eagles. I guess 2 years ago, they were still remembering what happened 2 years ago. And,
Yes.
so far right now, there's no team has three-peated, in the NFL. So I guess I don't know if we'll see that in our lifetime. But anyway, today's topic is Black history, how lessons learned will affect our future. And we're going to discuss a little bit about how what we learn from our Black history can create solutions for problems we are experiencing today, economically, socially, and politically. And a lot of this is going to involve our young people. So, I like to start off with little audio videos. And this is young people talking who are going to be the future. So bear with us before we get started with our conversation. Let's hear it from our youngest of young people.
There's a small school in the old Rondo neighborhood in St. Paul that has a student body that is 100% African and African American. And that school's principal invited me out there today to ask a handful of students one question. What does Black History Month mean to them?
Black History Month means a lot of things to me. My ancestors went through a lot to get us to the point we are now.
Why do we have Black History Month?
It's because so we can celebrate the people that have changed our lives so we can be free. And what I mean by free is so we do not have to eat at different restaurants and we don't have to be slaves by white people.
My parents were born in Africa, and my parents had to deal with slavery. So it's just like sad how they had to deal with that. And I'm just so grateful that where I am right now.
What makes you proud to be an African American?
Maybe knowing that what they did for us in the past motivates me to get my work done, try harder, and achieve my goals. And my goal is to become a president that can help the community. Maybe hire some salaries like teachers, principals, people who do an important job but don't get paid that well. And I also want a change in this world.
Do you know what month it is?
February.
What is February?
Black history.
What's that?
We celebrate for the Black people.
I feel like we should celebrate it all the time. I celebrate it all the time. I feel like everyone should.
What inspires you?
And I just want to play a little bit of our youngest of young people as we talk about our topic today about what lessons have we learned from our Black history going forward and how it's going to affect us in the future. And our future, all those young people we heard talking, and it sort of lifts your spirit when you hear the youngest of young that know the importance of Black history and keeping it going. So, and what they're trying to do in the schools to sort of block some of those lessons that our young people are learning. So we're going to talk today about what have we learned, from our Black history to take us forward. There's a lot of lessons in our Black history. So, Colonel, you want to start us off this morning? Good morning, Wesley. How you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning. Glad to be here day after Super Bowl. You know how that is. The
Yes.
Eagles flew high last night. I tell you, baby.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. But Colonel, go ahead.
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, everybody in Electron Lands. So, since Wesley talked about the Super Bowl, there was two moments in that Super Bowl that made me sick. Is when I got nauseated when Mr. Trump they actually cheered him on and they gave this pseudo press conference yesterday. But here's the real thing: is and went unnoticed. During the halftime show, they had a dancer that put up a flag of Sudan and Ethiopia, trying to make highlights of the famine that's going on in there, so we can before America would come out to help people of color. Would you know this morning that this regime wants to put federal charges on somebody that did a peaceful protest? Federal charges. Now, what does that tell you? Nothing illegal. They want to put federal charges on this guy. Something is wrong. And then so our democracy is dying quickly right before our eyes. It is dying before our eyes. And we talk about Black history. We need another civil rights movement in this country starting today. Because that's the only way we're going to save our democracy. And we have to look forward to the midterms. We have to take back this House and just wipe them out. And you have to get this Senate, because the Republicans don't care about America. Don't care about America. They have put in the most, Trump has put in the most unqualified cabinet ever in our nation's history. And they are going about with elongated Musk, and this South African prince is coming in here to destroy America from within. It's almost as if we have a Russian plant in the White House, backed up by the rest of the white supremacists, Stephen Miller, the vice president, and I call him Prime Minister elongated Musk, are just going in and taking everything in. If you look at, they told the CFP, Consumer Financial Bureau, that has returned $20 billion to that was stolen from or cheated from the American people. Told those folks, don't come into work this morning. They are out of business. So if it is good, they're going to tear it down. If it is good, it's going to tear it down. And next, they're going after education, the education department. So, and you can understand that, because if we destroy the education department, we keep America dumb. And dumb people vote what? Republican.
Right.
So, and here's another piece, and before I turn it over to Wesley, they stopped all research grants across this country on healthcare, from in all the multi-billion dollars from healthcare grants and research dollars from the NIH. And you know why? They cited saying that the top three universities that have research were Harvard, Yale, and MIT. That was the only way I could hurt these blue state universities or woke universities. And so I go ahead and stop everybody's money so I can get at them. And they said, oh, they don't need the money because they have the big endowments. What kind of crap is that? What kind of crap is that? Okay, go ahead.
And Wesley, before you go, the Colonel, thanks. And you mentioned something about the midterms and keeping in touch with, in line with the topic as far as what we learned from our Black history. You know, just think about what happened right after during Reconstruction, when we had all these Black legislators in office and everything, and we said, okay, it's a new day and we're going. So they looked at that and said, no, we got to change that. And that's what created the Jim Crow laws that took us out of office and put us back into servitude, almost servitude, almost slavery. We were free slaves. So that's one of the things we should learn from that history, or we should have been aware of that going into what we are now. But we are here, so we should look at that. The same thing is happening. The same thing is happening that happened after Reconstruction. They're trying to, roll back everything, all the progresses that we're made going forward. So, yeah. So that's one of those things that we have to learn from our history, or we should have learned from our history. But going forward, we have to look back at that and make sure, we tackle that situation. And we can start at the midterms, during the midterms, making sure that, that's going to be the start of us making sure that we're aware of what happened in our history, and we won't let it happen again, because history will repeat itself over and over again if we don't.
But
exactly. You're exactly right there. It's what have we learned from history? Well, obviously, in this last election, the majority, or 74 million people, learned nothing. There was 71 million that did get on the right side of it, but the greatest part, the hardest part, is the 89 million that didn't vote at all. And so it takes me back to 1870, and that's when I think it was Jackson came in after the Reconstruction has started, and we were sitting in the Senate, we were sitting in the House, we were sitting in local and state governments, and we were happy. The country was happy. That might have been one of them rare times that you could truly say that America was great. But it got too good. Things were going, the devil is busy. When things are going too good, he's going to do something to try to stir it up and bring people to do bad things towards him. And that's when the government decided that it would give the laws back to the states. And the southern states said, well, we can't make it. We got to have our crops spread. The same thing actually happened when Hitler took over. It's a pattern. And I understand from my readings that he actually learned that from the United States. He learned that if you keep a group of folks down, in his case, it was the Jews. And the damnedest thing I've ever seen was somebody to say that the perfect race was 6 feet tall, blonde hair, and blue eyes. And to hear people learn that and appreciate it from somebody that was 5'4" with brown hair, dark skin, and brown eyes. That right there has yet to completely amaze me how they followed him. Trump once said years ago that if he, and they've got it on recording, if he ever, going to what you said, Colonel, if he ever ran for president, he said he would run as a Republican because they're dumb.
Yes.
He also said that he likes the uneducated. He feels that those are his people. And now I truly get as to why. Once we get, that was the great things of schools like Booker T. Washington High School and R.C. Norcom and Norfolk State and Union and Tuskegee and all the HBCUs, were the fact that even though we couldn't go to the predominantly white schools, those schools that we could go to, those that were built for us and by us, they taught us who we were. They taught us who we were and how we got there. And so we've been to this movie before. As you asked, Slim, what have we learned from history? We've been here before. This is not new. We have survived this. We came through Jim Crow, and I think as long as you know, I said before that there's no honor among thieves. And when you look at Miller and Bannon and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk and Trump, sooner or later that group is going to implode within themselves because Musk is doing too much. This is the first time I think in my 72 years of living that I've never seen a government let somebody that has not been elected totally on the outside of it and who bought, everybody knows he bought the White House. And for $270 million, I think it's increased now, it's about $290. But he's just walking in buildings and just taking over, just shutting government down. How do you do that? You know, how do you do that? So from our history, we've got to be able to, but the difference is, I think, this time is that we've got enough people out there now on both sides of the aisle that are really starting to, they've got buyer's remorse, or in this case, voters' remorse. They so sorry they voted for him, they don't know what in the world to do. But they were simply voting for white supremacy. They were simply, it's just that simple. There's no question. They didn't care because the price of eggs ain't changed. The price of labor had changed. You know, you got one man, there's a bunch running around saying he needs people to come and work for him for 80 hours a week at no pay. I think we did that back in 1619. If my history doesn't fail me, they called it slavery. It's what that was called. And he's asking for the same thing. I believe he has a vendetta, you know, because his family was run out of South Africa. When apartheid went down, his grandparents had to leave and moved over to Canada. And then he and his brother illegally came on over here to the United States. So it's, if we've learned anything from history, it's the fact that I just put it out there, you can't out white folks. And so they're going to do what they want to do. But this time, some of them, by God's grace, some of them have some kind of soul about them, something that's on the inside gonna make one or two of them say that this just isn't right. This is not the way it was supposed to be. Because when they get rid of health care, that's gonna hurt everybody. It ain't gonna just hurt black folks, you know, and that's all from history. That's been a bone of contention for this government. Because they didn't want in the 40s. They tried before, I think it was 1941, they tried to bring healthcare was an issue. And when they realized that black folks were going to have to be part of that healthcare system, they didn't want it. And now they're continuing to do the same thing and making us one of the few nations in the world that doesn't care for our people. You know, they said that we were guaranteed three things: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, we've got life, but under life comes health care. That keeps you in life. Liberty is your freedom, those things that you're able to do. And just happiness is being able to do what you if you want to marry a white girl, you marry a white girl. A white girl wants to marry a black man, she marry a black man. Black man, white man want to marry a white man. It don't matter. As long as this country said that we could be happy with that. And Trump and the Trumpers, I won't say all the Republicans are there with him. I'm gonna say those the Trump Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, are a true group of evil people that do not care anything about humanity. They don't care anything about this country at all. And the oligarchs that are sitting on top of it, we getting ready to watch one of the greatest heists, speaking of history, in the history of the United States. You got young folks that know how to take computers and do everything in the world they want to do. They 18, 19, 20 years old. Musk got them in there. Trust me, some money gonna go missing.
Yeah.
Money is gonna go
Whole
missing.
lot of money.
Yeah,
Whole lot of money gonna go.
whole lot of money go missing.
But you know what?
Let me say that those watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. And we look for your comments. Thanks for the comments from the table, Texas Table Talk. Johnny, thanks. I appreciate you tuning in and offering your comments. And I just want to say one of the things we have to learn from history too, that change was made back in the day, and I know it's going to look different now, but we have to remember and learn from history that it took dedication, it took commitment, and it took unity. And in order for us to create any kind of change, that's what it's going to take with us, you know. So if history teaches us anything, that's going to have to be a big part of a big ingredient on what we want to do going forward as a people, as a race. Colonel, you were talking?
Well, you know what? I had a thought here. Earlier, we talked about our politicians, especially our Black politicians, and I'll wrap up the Congressional Black Caucus into this entity. I listened to a talk from one of our politicians here that sits on the House of Representatives. I'm not even gonna name his name. And I will lump him in with the word feckless when they talk about this regime and what they're going to do. I've always said that you can't win, you won't win these future elections because you don't talk, you're still in this highfalutin kind of verbiage thing. And if you can't, when they talk about DEI programs, you can't say that they are racist. Cannot get it past their lips. And when they talk about policies, you can't go and says these policies are attacking a specific brand or specific segment of society. You can't get that past your lips. You can't get your lips past when they're saying, are you ready to shut down the government? You can't get your lips to say, damn right, we're going to shut down the government because they are destroying the government from within. So we're not going to help them. You can't get past your lips to saying when the debt ceiling discussion comes in, you can't get past your lips and says, yes, we are going not to help them get by with the debt ceilings. So with the debt ceiling talk that's when they'll pass their tax cut talks.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to say no to everything. No to everything. They have already bent the knee anyway with the first bill, with the Lincoln-Riley bill that legalized or put more strength in going after what they call the immigrants to lock them up, which was already law. You are just supposed to say no. If they say we want to pass a law that says 2 + 2 is 4, you go against it. Because that's what they did your entire time when Joe Biden was in there, the entire time. So you need to say no, gum the works up, put sand in the gears. And he's already told you, J.D. Vance and Trump is saying, you're waiting. If these politicians on the left saying we're going to wait for the courts, they've said over the weekend, and they've been telling you through different conferences, news media saying they're going to start ignoring the courts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to enforce the law, but they're saying we're just not going to enforce it. So the courts don't even make any difference anymore. But the courts, yeah, and the courts are full, especially at the Supreme Court. that got all these corrupted corrupted Supreme Court justices. So we can't. We are the only ones that can help ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go back to, we talk American history, go back to the days of H. Rap Brown and then the Malcolm X and that crowd that talked about, and the Black Panthers are talking about Black economic sustainability. Buy Black, stay Black, save your money. Don't go in, spend your money frivolously, save your money, and don't go in and go to a restaurant or buy a Tesla or buy anything that from people that don't want you to be in their store or in their establishment, other than to separate your money from you.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I agree with you, Colonel. I think that one of the things that we're going to have to do, and this is, the women have really backed off. I had a last night, my wife and I have a tenant that lives I have an apartment attached to my house downstairs, and because it was a mother-in-law suite. But anyway, I had a bunch of women around here last night, and they are truly women. Black women have really just thrown their hands up and said, we tried to get y'all to follow us and go with us, but you didn't want to do it. Young black men didn't want to vote for a woman to be president. 89 million people decided they weren't going to go to the polls at all, which outnumbers both the people that voted for Harris and Trump. And it's difficult to watch, but the women have said, we're done. They really don't even like to talk about it no more. I watched them last night. They glissed over it, but they said, no, we're going to let y'all work this one out.
Yeah.
And it's almost frightening.
Yeah.
To see that this is now a pure dictatorship. It's just like you were saying, Colonel. They in a dictatorship, the courts are under the king.
Yeah.
The law is under the king. Justice is under the king. And the people have no saying at all as to what they're doing. How you going to put tariffs on your allies and expect prices not to go up? It's the most foolish thing I think I've ever seen. No wonder why you had 7 businesses to go bankrupt, because obviously you don't know how to run a business. With Musk is more on a vendetta kind of thing. He doesn't like black people at all, or people of color, because of his upbringing in apartheid. If you remember, Trump followed Hitler. He kept a copy of Hitler's writings by his desk. His first wife even said that. So he's followed this. I didn't know the boy was smart enough to read. And so he's now able to follow the same plan that Hitler was doing. The strangest thing about it is that Hitler was following what President Jackson had done. So it's just white supremacy in its finest. The greatest thing, I think, and if my family were here, my aunts and all them, the old folks, they say one thing: we do serve a greater God. And we've been here. We've got the strength to continue. I think that we're seeing history being made right in our face. We were a young country, and we tried this experiment called democracy. And it was working well. It was working well. The only problem with that white folks were having with democracy was the fact that your supremacist white folks was that it was working too well and everybody was equal. We act like it was 200, 3,000 years ago that women couldn't vote. We act like it was years and hundreds of years ago that women didn't even have the right to get a credit card in their name by themselves. We talking 1978. We ain't talking that far ago. You know, all this has been within our lifetime. The three of us sitting here, we've gone from Jim Crow to equal rights, EEOC, DEI, a black president, and now we back to Jim Crow again. You know, this is 2.0. That's exactly what we get read. And if you read, and if those of us that have read Project 2025, when I read it, I said, this is the forefront. This is where they're going to go with this Project 2025, is that it's going to be Jim Crow all over again. And there we go, you know, and there we go.
Yeah, a sophisticated Jim Crow. You know, it's also been a lot of conversation about, you know, the historical bus boycott, and probably it's unrealistic to think that we would have that kind of commitment again, but it can be something. And I saw somebody request that at least one day a week, Wednesday, they had mentioned that you don't shop at those stores that have turned the tables on DEI and things like that. And being in retail before, I know the impact one day can have on a business, especially when most of the people that are your customers are of color. So that can be, you know, as far as history is concerned, that can be a reality. A complete boycott of the stores probably won't happen, you know, because they're gonna go to your Walmarts, they're gonna go to your Targets and all the other places like that. But committing to one day a week, each week, probably could be something that could work. You know, sometimes you have to hurt that pocketbook to get some attention, and that's what that bus boycott did, and started a whole new. It started the conversation up where they were paying attention because you hit them in the pocket. So if you learn one thing from history, how well that worked, you know, you have to figure out a solution or a way to do that while you're looking at other solutions, you know, as far as getting people out the boat and things like that. But
well, Target is a prime example of that, you know. I'm understanding that Target thus far, you know, it feels like this boy been president for the last 10 years, but y'all know it's only been a couple weeks. But anyway, I understand that Target has lost close to $15 billion.
Yeah.
And when you go in there, there's no one in there whatsoever. You know, it's you're right, Slim. That their God is the dollar bill. That is their God. And the mega people. The poor ones, though, those that have to work every day and make something happen, they're caught up in the hype. And they are caught up in a point where they're feeling bad deep down inside. Like I said, they got some buyer's remorse, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep my whiteness. Yeah. So how much is that worth to you? You can't feed your children, but you're white. You know, you can't put no gas in your car, but you're white. And I'm gonna take my little black Mercedes and ride by you and blow my horn and say, "How you doing today?" Yeah, that's just the way that's gonna be. So,
and Wesley, they're living on a made up construct, like you mentioned last week, a made up construct of whiteness, and that's what you're living on. That's what you're basing your superiority on, a made up construct, whiteness. But you didn't come into this world as a white person. You came into this world as a person.
Right. They created that. You know, one of the things you hear is somebody said, name something that is not mentioned one time in the Bible. Not once. And this little old boy follows from the back. White folks. You know, and it's true. So in order this constructed thought, because everything else has a definition and a meaning to it. your culture, the culture of a group of people, the gender of people, the nationality of people. You know, that's stuff that you can measure, and it has some basis to it. But just to be of the white race and the black race, that has nothing whatsoever. You know, it was constructed so that they could. I don't know why there's got to be somebody on top, and we just can't be with one another. I've just, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And as I get older, the less sense it starts to make sense. You know, so
Yeah, and other people say, well, you all call yourselves blacks and you're proud of that. Well, the difference is, well, you all named us that for one thing. And the
right.
difference is we're not claiming any kind of superiority over anybody, any other race. You know, anything that we get, we work hard for. We know that it takes hard work and dedication to an education in order to succeed. And
Hmm.
even that doesn't make you superior to any other human being. You know,
Right.
so don't try to compare the way we see us as black folks to the way you see yourselves as white folks, because you see
That's right.
yourselves as superior because you're white. We see ourselves black because that's our heritage and that's what you gave us, and that's where that's the way we survive. So
Yeah. You know, somebody was, and looking at our history, somebody once, in this Black History Month, once said, why is it that we can't tend to get along and try to work as a group of people like the Mexicans do, or the Italians did, or the Polish did, or the Jews did? Well, there's only two groups of people in this entire United States of America that did not come here looking for a better opportunity.
Hmm.
We were one, and the Native Americans were already here. And they say now in history, looking at DNA, we were already here as well. We came over from all these different tribes on the west coast of Africa, and we didn't even, most of us didn't even speak the same language. Okay, so we land in the bottom of ships. We have no idea where we're going. We just got stolen. I'm walking around, I'm picking an orange to eat, and all of a sudden now I'm in shackles and I'm in the bottom of a boat, and I have no idea where I'm going. And when I get to where I am, don't expect, I didn't see nobody running around shooting off fireworks and said, "Welcome to America," when I got here. What we had was just total chaos and led by a group of people that had no idea. They were lazy as hell. That's why they needed us to come over here. And even the Native Americans had to teach them how to farm. And after that, they put them on the trail of blood. And we couldn't trust each other. You know, I didn't know you, Slim. I didn't know you, Colonel. So both of us laying in the boat together, but I can't even talk to you because I don't speak your language. And then because of you, I'm unshackled, attached to you. I, I'm scared to death. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 13, 14 years old. I don't see my mama. I don't see my daddy. I don't see my cousin. I don't see nobody I know. I'm just here. I'm like a cow. I'm just stopped. And now you heard me. You're opening my mouth. You're crawling up my butt. You want to see, and then you put me in the field from Kate to Kate, from Kate in the morning to Kate at night. If
Hmm.
I ever get the opportunity to get out of this, I'm gone, and I don't even know where my family is, so I can tell them where I'm going. So it's been difficult for us to formulate this bond over the years. You know, it's been hard. We've done much better. We've done much better. We've grown closer together, and we're starting to understand. That's why that $15 billion that Target, because we did quietly did that. The people that work in there said they hollering through the store because they ain't got nothing to do. It's the
Yeah.
cleanest stores in the country because there are no customers in there whatsoever. Walmart
okay,
is going to be next on the list.
yeah,
You know.
Colonel.
And I'm shocked at Walmart, and I'm shocked at Coca-Cola here in Atlanta. I'm gonna try to see if I can talk to some folks to get over there and talk to them people. because we as a people have kept Coca-Cola going. We drank some Coca-Cola. I
Mhm.
remember working at Norfolk State. We were drinking 15,000 gallons of Coca-Cola syrup a year.
That was before the real Coke was in it.
Yeah, that's just the syrup, the part before you add all that stuff, because I was over contracts at Norfolk State. And we were drinking 15 to 20,000 gallons of Coca-Cola syrup a year.
Mm.
So once you add the combination to it, you can imagine how much Coca-Cola that was. So,
Let's let Colonel get in there.
Well,
Let Colonel get in there.
well, you
Go
know,
get it.
yeah. So we mentioned elongated Musk, and I say that because he's the South African Prime Minister, and he went to, as Wesley says, he went to Canada and stole his way in here, just like the rest of the immigrants that they're trying to send back. So saying that is that he still believes in apartheid. And that's why you see him when he gets a moment of truth, he's giving out the Nazi salute and denying it. And everybody, we've gotten this country now, since Trump has taken over as a dictator here, is he has gotten everybody across the country, especially the Republicans and the Democrats, are scared to speak out and to call him what he is, as a racist, a Nazi sympathizer, white supremacist. And they are scared to do this plain talk with him. And that's one reason they're getting away with murder. And Wesley, you talked about the greatest heist. They could put in, if I'm a politician, when I see them over the weekend, they're talking about, oh, your data, we're going to sell data, what they're going to do with these data and stuff like that. No, you need to break it down that says, what are these young boys, are in these computers over at the Treasury and all these other government entities, they will put in things where they'll be able to siphon off billions and billions and tens of billions of dollars of your taxpayer dollars. Musk can write himself a check. So he has 30-40 billion dollars of government contracts. They didn't pay me enough, so I think I'm going to have the government pay me 400 billion now instead of that, and not show up on the balance sheet till I'm get my pardon from Trump, and then all of it will come out. So I'm seeing it now. So I'm telling you what's going to happen. Musk is going to take $1 trillion of your taxpayer dollars, because if these folks don't steal little money, they're going to take big money. So
They got to steal more than they have.
Yeah.
or it wouldn't make sense.
It's going to make sense. And so I'll take $1 trillion here, get these tax cuts crossed, and then I'll say, Mr. Trump, I did your bidding. Nobody's discovered that I got the $1 trillion. I need a pardon on the way out the door because I can't trust these folks.
Exactly.
Come back one day. So he get his $1 trillion, and his other boys that are there, the skateboard guys, they get tens of billions of dollars, and they set it up to where every so many years, the little program they send is going to send them a check for $10 million down in Argentina.
Yeah. And I was watching the commercials last night. I don't know if it was just me or Jack Daniel or Budweiser, but those were the strangest damn commercials I think I have ever seen on television. They were, what was that seal? They had seal looking like a real seal, and they were using
Yeah,
AI.
that was
Millions.
frightening.
Yes, yes. It was some of the craziest stuff I had ever seen. The only ones that were making sense were the public service announcements that the NFL was putting out there. Okay, theirs was making sense. Everybody's got to equal up. We got to treat each other good. But the rest of them commercials, I mean, I couldn't even tell you who was putting them out there because they were making so much. They were so senseless and almost rude. You know, that seal commercial was close to blackface to me. That was I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I was like, really?
Yeah, he agreed to it. So, But anyway, I want to throw in a little bit of Black history here, and I want you all to comment after this when we talk about DEI. But Betsy Coleman, I don't know if anyone's familiar with that name, but she started out picking cotton with her family and ended up going to college and had to stop because the funds ran out. But she had in her mind, she wanted to be a pilot. She wanted to fly planes. So she had to end up going to France. She went to stay with her brother who was a train porter. And he told her he had gone to France during the war and said, those ladies over there in France are flying planes and doing everything. So she said, I'm going to France. That's what I want to do. She went to France and received her pilot's license certificate in 1921, 2 years before Amelia Earhart. So who do you hear about in history? Amelia Earhart. I don't think Betsy Coleman is anywhere in the history books, but she came back to America with a dream of opening a flight school to train Black men and women how to fly. So in order to raise money for that school, she did acrobatics on a plane, walking on the wings and everything. So she and made a lot of money doing that, and she refused to perform before an audience that wasn't integrated. Everybody had, but it was doing Jim Crow, so it had some problems some places. But she refused to perform if the audience wasn't allowed to be integrated. So one place she went to, they went up to scout and had a white pilot with her, and he was driving and she was flying, and she was looking, checking out the spot, and they had mechanical problems with the plane, and she died in that crash. But a fella came along, Lieutenant Colonel named William Powell, opened that aviation school in her name, and they taught several pilots, Black pilots, white and Black, women, I mean, not white and Black, women and men, to fly. Even some of the Tuskegee Airmen came through that school. So that's a Black history fact. And when I saw that, I thought about this guy. I can't remember his name. This rich guy that said he got on a plane when he saw Black pilots in there. He got worried about his safety because they were Black, and he didn't feel like they had the abilities to really fly the plane. But back in 1921, this Black lady got her license and was flying planes with the dream of opening an aviation school. But I doubt if she's anywhere in the history books. So each show we're gonna focus on somebody that probably is not in the history books. But gentlemen, how you feel about that? Have you ever heard of her, Betsy Coleman?
Yeah, I have, because I went to Tuskegee, actually, which is where I first heard about her. And the Tuskegee Airmen were just starting to get out, and they were saying there was a lot on the perimeters with these guys that was going on at the time. And yeah, she was, where was I? Was I in the African American Museum, either here in Atlanta or the one in Washington, and they have a section on her that's up there. She and Jameson, the little girl that was up there too, that was an astronaut. And it said, it shows the way it was displayed as to how far we have come. You know, we've gone from 1921, where you had a black woman that learned how to fly a plane, all the way to now you got one that's flying a spaceship.
Yeah.
So we've always been there. You know, it's I looked at and I tell you who was very influential in her getting her license, along with the Tuskegee Airmen, along with the 6888. Two women that fought for equal rights and did it in such a way they didn't even realize. And that was Mary McLeod Bethune
Mm-hmm.
and Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Them two women right there, baby, they ran this world. You know, they got us through a war because of them. The Tuskegee Airmen were able to fly and save, because we were losing bombers bad. And until they
Eleanor
put
was
the right.
actually vice president. If you didn't know that,
Mm.
Eleanor was she was vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she and Mary McLeod, they were running the country.
Mm.
They were handling things. They were doing a good job with it too. But as a matter of fact, it was, what was his name? One of the coaches at Norfolk State, Coach Brown. He was one of the older coaches. He used to work with her. He was at Bethune-Cookman coaching football when she was there. He said she was tough too. She was tough.
Who? Bethune-Cookman? Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
Mary
So on
okay.
that Monday morning, they had that foot, you lose the game. You had that coaches conference with the president on Monday. Woo! Say he dreaded to go in there to see her because she was rough.
Her thing was excellence everywhere, on the field, in the classrooms, everywhere.
Yeah, we you know, and that's another thing that I'm concerned with is with the Department of Education getting eliminated, and the way that Musk is taking money from people. I'm concerned as because our HBCUs depend on federal money. You know,
Yeah.
we're not like the University of Virginia or William and Mary or Emory down here, where University of Georgia, where William and Mary gets $250 million a year from England, from the King of
And
England.
they're
Well,
not like us.
no, they not like us, baby. But they get that. They got money. So, Virginia, I remember they were going to take some money from Norfolk State. And Dr. Wilson and the president of the University of Virginia went up there. And William and Mary said, well, we'll pull our schools out of here and help Norfolk State. And you can keep your little dime. Okay. And that's when they had, what that boy name is? Daddy used to coach football and he was governor. Allen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. George Allen, was that his name?
George Allen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They said that boy couldn't read a bill, but he ended up governor and then ended up being a senator. But they made him pay. He had to get that money back to Norfolk State and all the HBCUs he was trying to cut out of the budget. But I'm concerned with this presidential administration because I got a feeling that HBCU gonna get cut hard because they gonna say that we use DEI, which is stupid because we're the majority school, and if we use DEI, that helps get some of the white folks in the school. They're just stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah, but you know what? And we ought to realize in the HBCUs, and you think about the history of the HBCUs and how long they've been around, and how many people have walked those halls. If everybody that ever went to those HBCUs just gave $1, we wouldn't need to depend on any kind of money from the government,
That's
or whatever
right.
they're trying to do. So that, as far as learning your history, learn how to support your HBCU.
That's right.
Because it was important to whatever you're doing now, even if you're doing something completely opposite from what your major was. It was a whole lot of other lessons learned at those HBCUs. So, let that sink in your mind. Think about, as we talk about solutions and what they're trying to do. If we can't stop them, we have to have solutions on how we can counteract that. And one of the things is us supporting our HBCUs. If you went there, all these people that ever went there, supported reached back and supported the schools? I know all of us do. So, it can make a
Yeah,
difference.
but
Colonel, what do you think about? No, go ahead.
you ever think, I think about what I remember the old days of Norfolk State when they used to have to go to Foreman Field to play football. And it was, the stadiums used to be packed. And it was more people that were just working at the shipyard, didn't get chance to get to college because they had to work so much. But now they could give back, and we need them as well. We've got to get back to where we got the community behind the school like Norfolk State. Norfolk State used to be only football in town. The ODU didn't have no team. Virginia Wesleyan didn't have no team. But now ODU got one, and that's all you hear about.
Yeah.
That's all you hear about. And Norfolk State was the one that was holding it down. They were bringing income into Norfolk because of football. And so, we've got to, you're right, Slim, we've got to be able to try to support ourselves. We got to, and one thing that is happening in today, and I know from this household, is that their insurance policies. We're finally getting to a point that at the HBCUs that when the elders are now dying off, they're leaving policies of $20, $30, $50,000 to the school, which is great. That's great. That helps them out, and I'm glad to see that we're getting to that point that we can do stuff like that, and we can help it. But we've got to, what was it? Martin Luther King was saying it's kind of hard for a man to tell a man to pull himself up by his own bootstraps, and he doesn't have a pair of boots.
Mm-hmm.
And he has.
The other thing that in the Project 2025, and it's a stated policy of this administration, is to, under the DEI program, is to eliminate HBCU schools because they don't want us to get into the middle class, and to get in the middle class, you get an education. So if you are dumb, then I can keep you dumb by keeping you from out of them schools. And so with the destruction of the education departments, those student loans are no longer going to be available.
Right.
All the money, and when he says, I'm going to shift money to the states, let the states have all this educational money. Look at the effects of that's going to be, because especially if you have a Confederate governor that we have here, we're not going to get a proportionary or fair cut at our HBC schools. Not going to get it. And in all those kids that are, or families that have the kids that have disabilities or learning disabilities or physical disabilities, all that money goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to go to the states, and they are going to find some other way to spend that money, especially in the Confederate states. In Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, all that whole around there. Black folks, y'all in trouble now. You're already in trouble because you're last in everything. You ain't jack. And from the states, because they're gonna, like Mississippi, they're going to take money that's supposed to come to those schools, and Brent Favre and the rest of them are going to get stadiums named after them, soccer fields like after for the daughters and stuff like that. You're not get your fair share. So,
it's like Tennessee State. They're trying to close Tennessee State up. The state of Tennessee is trying to close it.
Yeah.
Because they say that they owe money and they're behind in the bills and they don't know how to manage. At the same time, the court found that the state of Tennessee over the years they owe Tennessee State $2 billion.
Yeah.
So how you gonna penalize them for owing money and you haven't given them the money that they need to pay the bills with? So it's a catch-22, baby. It's a catch-22 for us.
Okay, we've wound down to the end, and if there are any other comments from our host and guest host today, you can do them now. But before you do that, make sure you if you're watching on YouTube, you like, subscribe, and I appreciate the comments that people have given. Texas Table Talk, that's Johnny, and the Seven Johnsons and Louis Bracy. Excuse me, appreciate all your comments, and thank you, Renee Robinson Barnes, for watching Black Pages, and Dolores Lewis, who is our cousin, Tommy, down there where you are. She's in Georgia, down there where you are. Wesley. Yeah. So thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it, and remember to always go back to history and make sure you take whatever you learned then and apply it to what you want to do in the future. We appreciate you. Remember, the revolution will not be televised.
Yes.
All right. Good.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Be our guest on the Portsmouth